Welcome to the Prison Pod, a podcast for all people experiencing incarceration. The mission of this podcast is to save lives, restore hope, reduce suffering, and recidivism. Many show ideas come directly from the listeners, so please write the host. Prison Pod, Post Office Box 294, Orono, Maine, 04473. Here is your host, Ms. Valerie.
Welcome to the Prison Pod. Today's guest is Kara Janssen. She is a person who is formerly incarcerated and works on prison and reentry reform. Kara is a storyteller and a coach who helps people share their stories. I'd like to welcome Kara Janssen.
Hi,
Good
Valerie. Thanks so much
morning.
for having me. Good morning.
So since you are a storyteller and teach about telling stories, can you tell us a little bit of your story to get us started?
Sure, I'd love to. So, I grew up here in Phoenix. Grew up in a lower middle class family. I went to a Catholic grade school from kindergarten to 8th grade, and then public high school, which was a very rude awakening. I didn't know there were any other religions other than Catholic at that point. So, I learned a lot going to a public school. I loved it. When I was 18, I met my now ex-husband, who I married when I was 19, and we had 3 kids by the time I was 24. So, to say the least, it was a little bit stressful, and our relationship was kind of toxic. So, when I was 25, I got divorced. And after my divorce, I like to say went off the deep end a little bit. I started to use hard drugs. My favorite was Percocet, so I started doing whatever I could to get my fix, if you will. I started selling pills. So it only took about, I don't know, a year for SWAT to show up at my house. I was filling fake scripts, so they had built a case on me and showed up at my house with SWAT, like I said, took me in, and I ended up getting a 2.5-year prison sentence. So when I went to prison, I didn't really think that there was anything wrong. I figured since, I was getting my pills from the doctor, I had a doctor, um, along with the illegal pills. Anyways, I thought that I didn't really have a problem, that, a doctor prescribed it to me, so I must need it. Well, I mean, I manipulated the doctor into writing me those pills. So it was very much so a manipulation thing. But the first time I went to prison, I didn't do anything to get better, to help myself. I worked a little bit, and I played cards and watched the softball teams play softball. So I didn't really get anything out of it. So when I was released, did really well at first. I got a job right away. I bought a car, and then I had to have surgery. I had kidney stones. So that is where my relapse happened. I was prescribed pills again and started to use. And then when the pills ran out, I moved to heroin. So at this point now, I had been out for about 6 months using heroin and didn't want my family to see me that way. So I started living out on the streets, kind of like couch surfing or trying to find wherever I could stay to be healthy, try to get by. So I ended up at a halfway house, um, which is where I met my wife now. And from there, it kind of went downhill. She got arrested, I got arrested, and then we got out and got back together, and it was just a very hard time being out on the streets, not having anybody to ask for help, I guess. I didn't want my family to really know what I was doing or how I was doing because I was embarrassed. So didn't have anybody to ask for help. So pretty quickly, I started doing illegal things to get my fix again and ended up back in prison within the year that I had been released. After that year, I obviously knew that I did have a problem at this point. When I went back, I did everything that I could to help myself to get better. I Even starting in jail before I went back to prison, I picked up an AA book, I remember, and I just started reading it. And I was like, wow, this is like kind of how I feel. Obviously, it's not about alcohol, but all of the things that I'm feeling are coming out in this book and these stories and these 12 steps. So I just kept reading. Then when I went to prison, I signed up for every program that I could. So I signed up for a program called The Way Out, which basically helped folks do their 12 steps. So you got a sponsor when you got into the class. It was like a 12-week class, and you did a step a week. So I worked on that. I became a sponsor. I got involved with the Toastmasters Club inside. So I learned how to public speak. Little did I know I'd be using it when I got out. Anything that I found beneficial as well was ran by my peers. Prison run programs are a joke. They do them to check a box saying that they put you through a program. But the ones where people would come inside, or the ones who were already there with me, those were the ones that I got the best knowledge out of, and the most raw, real stories and connections because of sharing those stories. It kind of becomes like your little family, I guess, because you're not there with your family, so you kind of have to make your own, right? So I was there for 3 years the second time, and when I got released, I was so into the fact that my classes, my NA classes in prison, really helped me. So when I came home, I continued in that recovery space. I was going to meetings, going meeting hopping with my friend, finding out which meetings I liked the best. I mean, I was at meetings every day, and it really just kept me on the right path. And then I also started volunteering with the ACLU of Arizona, which, yeah. So I got to work on their Smart Justice campaign, which the goal was to reduce the prison population by 50%. So we worked on a couple bills. I've done policy work with the ACLU of Arizona. I actually was employed by them after I volunteered for about 5 years. I did a lot of organizing around like district attorney races, educating the community on how important district attorneys are. They're the ones really who are doing the prosecuting and deciding the kinds of pleas that people are getting and who to charge and why to charge. The district attorney really has all the power. So we shared that with the community. And then I just would have events where I would just bring formerly incarcerated people together with community members, with community leaders of different organizations, to just get everybody in the same room together and really share those stories and be able to connect, because there's so many people out in the general public who have no idea what's going on in the justice system, right? Like before we go to prison, while we're in prison, and then when we get home, like it's a huge cycle, and it can be a very bad cycle if you get into the recidivism cycle, which I was. I was a statistic that I went back within the first 3 years. I was one of those statistics. So I decided that I wanted to help people not be that statistic anymore. So that's why I started my nonprofit organization called We Stand AZ. The mission is to teach trained folks how to share their stories in a concise and inspiring manner, really to change policy. Now, when I say tell stories to change policy, I also tell stories to, tell our stories to the public, to community leaders, to organizational leaders, organizations, anybody that will listen. But I am focused on justice impacted people, and I have been able to get into at least one so far Arizona prison virtually to do my workshop with them. And the goal is to basically get people ready for when they're released, right? There's so many people inside that like are yearning to do something better. They need a way to change their lives. And this is something that is super empowering to tell your story. It can be very intimidating, but that's why we practice. That's why we teach people, because it's so important. So important that, especially since we can't vote when we're first released, obviously, we actually can use our voices. Our actual voices is what we're going to have to use until we can vote, right? So I think this is super important because over the past few years, I've been able to really connect with some lawmakers, share my story, build some genuine relationships. And because of that, we've been able to get a couple bills passed that helps incarcerated folks, such as like the Dignity for Incarcerated Women bill, which basically ensures feminine hygiene products for women for free, and that they get to spend at least 72 hours with the baby if they give birth while incarcerated. That bill you would think would be a common sense bill, right? But it took us a couple years to get it passed. And I just remember standing up in front of a panel, a committee of men, trying to explain to them how important feminine hygiene is for women. And that's a basic human right. They don't understand. They wanted to say, oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know this was going to be about blood and tampons. Like, I'm not comfortable talking about this. Well, then why are you making or not making laws about it if you have no idea what you're talking about? So after that, I decided that how important it was that I told my story and that everybody else told their story too, because we have these people in power that have no idea what's going on.
Music by Stir Crazy Music. www.stircrazymusic.com.
Attention! Choreo, a better way to connect with loved ones who are incarcerated. Without Choreo, family and friends wait for a call and hope they can answer. With Choreo, inmates can call or message at any time. When your inmate calls their Choreo number, they will hear your voice and text messages. Inmates receive and leave messages at any time using standard prison phones, making connection easy and predictable. For information about Choreo, visit choreo.org. Stay connected.
It's our job to educate them. If we don't, no one else is going to. And they're going to be informed by the TV, by the media, by shows like Law and Order, things like that. So it's really important that justice-impacted people own and tell their stories. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's therapeutic as well as empowering. And I just want everyone to have that empowerment feeling. So that's also why I do what I do. But that's kind of a short/long story, if you will.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your own story because we learn how to share our stories by hearing others tell theirs.
Mhm.
And firsthand experience is much better than reading in a book when we hear it coming out of someone's mouth. And I think this is why peer support is so important inside because if you haven't already had that experience, it's really hard to fully understand it. We can learn
Mm,
about it, but without experiencing it, you don't really get the feels of the truth.
exactly. Mhm.
So now you just did something pretty remarkable. You briefly mentioned it. You did a workshop in a women's prison just a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I originally reached out to the Arizona prisons, their program manager, to get physically inside of the prison to do my workshops. So far, I got denied for that. So I kind of like did a little skirt, and reached out to a couple other people that weren't really involved with the prison, organizations that like aren't the prison but are working with the prison. And one of them is called Persevere, and it's a coding program. So they're going in teaching coding to ladies who are getting out within the next 12 months. So it's a really cool program. And when I reached out to them, I told them what I was trying to do and what I was doing out here in the community as well, like teaching family members how to tell stories and stuff. And they just loved the idea of it. So they invited me to come to one of their virtual classes. And I got to present and share my story again and kind of teach them how to share theirs. And I was able to give them some hope and then also give them my information so that when they're released, if this is something that they want to pursue, storytelling, talking to lawmakers, any of those kinds of things, and I would love for them to reach out to me to continue that relationship and that mentoring. It's like you said, peer mentorship is so important. And I just remember like when I was inside, anyone that would come in and give us attention and show us love was super, super important, and it gave us hope. So I want to be one of those people that can come in and give people hope that you can have success in reentry, that your past doesn't define you, and that really people, you would be surprised how you change people's hearts and minds when you do tell your story. Like I said, I've made so many real connections with people you would never think of, like hardline Republicans that I've shared my story with, that are now helping me with bills that I want to run and giving me advice and things like that. So they listen to us. It's important. And that's why I think too the virtual workshop was pretty cool. Is the ladies were telling me like, thank you for being here, and I could just tell that they were excited to have something new in their class. So it was really, really cool. So it's been 7 years I've been released. It was November 1st was the day I was released 7 years ago. And on that same day, I actually got to go inside the women's prison that I had been at, and participate in their cancer walk, which is like their big celebration kind of thing every year that they do. They have like a DJ and games and food and stuff like that. Like that's the one time a year that they get to celebrate and raise money for cancer. So it's a pretty good little program, and it was just great. It sounds so funny. It was just great being there, like to go in, and it was like I never left, almost like connecting with the women, like being able to talk to them and give them hope and let them sign up for my storytelling. Since I can't get it inside yet, we'll just do it over email for now. Like that's what we're gonna do. So it was really cool to be back in there, like literally 7 years to the day later. And I am getting to like help, and then also getting able to leave at the end of the day when it's time for me to go home. So it's kind of bittersweet. Like it was really cool to be there, but like I just wish I could take everybody else with me too.
It's really funny that you mentioned that because when I was doing my work inside, I started going to visit several people on a regular basis.
Mm.
And leaving was stranger each time.
Yeah.
And then after I got to really know some of the people and saying that goodbye, walking out of the door, just,
Mm.
I don't know, it's like a piece of you stays with them.
Yeah, I agree. Can you imagine how hard it is for families that have to come in and see their loved ones and then have to leave them at the end of the day? Like, I know on the other side, it's like heartbreaking. Like, your kids come in to see you and you get to spend a few hours with them, and then you have to leave, and they're
I
gone,
was
to see them for another couple weeks. So it's just,
I was going to ask if you were able to see your children while you were in.
yes. So my ex-husband had them while I was inside, but my family still was very active in their lives. They would take them on the weekends and stuff like that. And they're the ones, my grandparents were the ones that would I have 3 kids, would bring them one at a time to see me. So like every month I would get to see one so they could have that one-on-one attention. And then every once in a while, 3 of them would come together. But it was super important to keep that bond as much as we could. And it's heartbreaking when folks don't get visits and they don't get to bond and keep that connection with anybody. So I think it's another reason why building community inside, building those like chosen families is super important. I know it's not easy in that environment to make friends necessarily and people that you trust as your family, but I can tell you that some of the best people I've ever met, I met in prison. So you would be surprised how much you can trust people um, inside.
I met I met some of the best people I've known in my life in prison,
Mhm.
and I've had 2 people that I worked with that were in prison who were at my college graduation for me. So they knew I was going to school for them and how important it was for me, and it meant probably more than if my family had been there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know, it's a different kind of connection. Whenever I go to conferences or workshops or whatever, it's normally with folks that have been formerly incarcerated or family of incarcerated folks. So like it's crazy because a huge room full of people that you don't know, but yet you know them because they've been through the same thing as you, and you, like, automatically feel a connection, like, without even talking to someone yet. Just knowing that they've been through the same thing that you have and coming together and building strength and hope, super important. And those people that show up are people that are really, like, doing the work and making the change and, showing up, and that's really all you have to do is just show up. Like, all the programs that I was in, half of them I signed up for, I had no idea what I was signing up for. I just saw a sign on the bulletin board, "Hey, sign up for this class." Okay, but I wanted to make sure that I was using my time wisely, making the most of it, like, since I had to be there, might as well do the best I can. So, yeah, I just remember seeing those programs and signing up, not knowing what I was signing up for, but you just keep showing up, right? Like, that's what I did at the ACLU. I just kept showing up and showing up. I'd never been in politics before, never thought that I would be in this type of work. I didn't even know what organizing was as a community, so I had to learn as I went, but it was just great having, like, the people around me that had been through the same thing, like, those people are my family, like, to this day, those are the people that I reach out to, those are the people that show up for me, those are the people that come to my events and, like, really care about what's going on, and it's this reciprocal relationship, like, I love them so much, like, it's just hard to explain, like, how much of
How
a heart these people have.
how is it that you go about getting people to open up and start talking? Because as you know, you're talking of a very vulnerable population, and talking about ourselves is hard enough as it is, let alone sharing some of those deep things that we don't want to talk about.
Mhm. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with me telling my own story, being vulnerable to tell my story. It gives people a little bit of courage to do the same. And then I think too, just watching other people other than me tell their stories, go speak to lawmakers. I just the other day, one of my first workshops that I taught storytelling to is actually a sober living for women that are just coming home. So I got to teach them, and then what I did was planned a day up at the Capitol where we got to go up there to the Capitol and practice what they had learned in their storytelling workshop. So I had a couple of lawmakers there, a couple of old-time speakers there, that have done it a million times, and they got to actually connect with lawmakers and have real discussions with them, and then after that, we did, like, a mock committee hearing so that they could get up and speak to a panel of people so they can see it is intimidating, I'm not gonna lie, like, I still get intimidated when I go up to testify, like, still my heart is in my stomach, but afterwards, like, you just feel like the weight of the world is lifted off your shoulders, and like I said, it's super therapeutic, and once you get through it, I think the first couple times, even the first time you get through it, like, "That wasn't that bad, I can do this." And then once you have to just keep practicing, just telling people, like, start with people that you know, who know you and you aren't afraid are gonna judge you or whatever. But have to tell people that even if you're afraid people that you don't know are gonna judge you, I mean, they are gonna judge you, but that's why you tell your story, so that they don't judge you in the wrong way, like, your biggest mistake shouldn't define who you are. So
So important that you brought that up because we are so afraid to let people know who we really are.
mhm,
But the only way they get to know who you really are is to know that other piece.
mhm,
So many people say, oh, it's the past. Yes, it is the past. But as you know, anyone who's ever done any time, somewhere along the way that comes up.
mhm, it does.
So for the people that are inside listening right now, do you have any suggestions to them as far as how to get from that point A to point B, not to waste the time
Mhm,
and to set themselves up so they have a more positive experience coming home? Or
mhm,
as far as that goes, even the ones that are there,
mhm,
staying, how to have a better life inside.
mhm. So like I said, I think that programs are super important. The problem with programs is that there's not enough, and they a lot of times it's offered to people on like a priority ranking of like who's getting out the soonest, basically. So, like, a lot of times people with a lot of time don't get into programming, and it's really hard to just sit there and not have anything to do. So that's why I joined the peer run groups a lot, because those ones weren't really as strict of like, oh, you have to be going home within 12 months. I think too, like I said, building that community, finding those people that are have the same mindset as you, that are wanting to do better, that are wanting to change their lives. Like, and some people just aren't ready yet, and that's fine. Like I said, the first time I was there, I wasn't ready. I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. Like, so it's important to build that community and just have people that have your back, that support you, that like no matter what you're doing, they're like, "Hey, good job." Like, I want to do that too. Or how did you get there? Again, sharing my story of what I did. And like I said, the biggest thing that I can say when I came home was to get involved in my community, do all the things like, to be healthy, like just in general. A lot of us have health conditions when we come home from prison. I had to have emergency surgery when I first came home. And health is a big thing. So, like I said, just surround yourself with people that are trying to do good. And I know sometimes it can be hard, but you'll find them. And like I said, just enroll what you can, any program that you can. And I personally just tried to like keep my head down and just stay busy and, stay out of trouble. And I know it's hard in there to I feel like they set you up for failure. They set you up to be able to give you disciplinary action or whatever it may be so that you lose time, your good time. So like I said, just keep your head down. I did a lot of like writing. I did my 12 steps. So I did a ton of writing of my 12 steps, and it doesn't have to be the 12 steps, like just journal, just write. I feel like that helps too, to kind of like get it out and then put your goals on a piece of paper. How are you going to meet those goals? You have time to think about it. So really sit down and think of how you can be successful and what you want to do. What's your passion? Because if you do what you love doing, then it's not a job anymore. What I do right now, it's not a job. I don't get paid to do this, well, at least yet. So it's just in my heart, and it just makes me so happy. I couldn't really imagine at this point doing anything else. Even though I'm like super entrenched in politics and stuff now that I used to say I hated, like now it's like I kind of like it. I wanted to run for office actually last year, but my rights weren't restored yet, so I wasn't able to. But I really want to be
I
able to make that difference.
so to give you a quick little story, there is a woman here in Maine,
Mm,
Angela Walker,
mm,
who was just voted onto the Bangor City Council,
mm,
and she was formerly incarcerated. And people had a lot to say in the news about her, but she has done incredible work since she has come home.
mm.
She has been very involved in the recovery community here, and she will make a wonderful addition to the Bangor City Council. So don't give up your hopes as far as getting involved there.
Okay, I won't. I just have worked with so many lawmakers this past year that like I kind of see how it is up there at the Capitol and how they're kind of it's a lot of drama and immaturity up there, and you don't get paid barely at all. So then I was maybe I should go a different route and stay out of the drama and the kids stuff. And, I can still help in other ways. I just kind of wanted to be able to have that, oh, let's pass a law. Let's actually like do this. And I have the power to really help do that. Because when you're going up to testify, you do have power in your voice, but you still need that power to like, get your colleagues to vote the way that you want to vote. It's still a possibility that I run,
Mhm.
but probably not for a little while. I want to get this storytelling nonprofit off the ground so I can get everybody
Definitely. And what
ready.
was the name of your nonprofit again?
It's We Stand AZ.
AZ?
Yes.
So Arizona.
Hmm.
Okay, great. I want to make sure I get that right. So now I have a question I've never asked a guest, in
Oh,
5 seasons.
oh wow. Okay.
Do you have any suggestions to me as a podcaster
Sure.
who is bringing voices inside
Mhm.
of a topic or a guest you think that maybe I should?
Well, there are a couple of workshops that I've done that help people like trauma informed recovery kind of stuff. They go through well, like history of prisons and stuff, and then how to uh change your mindset when you come home. There's a lady named Aya Afo. I can give you her information. She does a workshop and it's great. Just getting through. She talks about why things are the way they are today when it comes to the criminal justice system, as well as how to get through it and come out on the other side a better person, really. Since there's no rehabilitation in prison, it's just super important that you do it yourself when you come home and even when you're still there. But also, I think what you're doing is perfect. Just having formerly incarcerated people that are doing good things in the community, just getting their stories out, letting people know that there is hope. And then too, like, I think it would be cool if you had like a lawmaker on here to kind of talk about how they've been involved in criminal justice reform in the past and what's important to them and their priorities, because it's really great when you hear someone in power talk about helping, like helping situations that you're involved in. This past session, we passed a bill for prison oversight, an independent prison oversight office, which we had worked on for 6 years. And finally, it got passed, and it creates an office for people to call. It could be inmates, it could be their family, it could be staff to call and give reports, and this office would be able to do investigations, be able to show up at the prison basically without prior notice, so they can find out what's really going on and be able to share that with their constituents basically and the governor. So
That's
that was
such important work.
yeah, and so the lawmakers, so surprisingly, it was 2 Republicans that really championed this bill, and having people like that that like are unlikely allies coming and speaking or like I said, just showing up is super important, and it really shows people that people do care no matter what side of the aisle you're on, no matter, we could disagree on every other subject. A lot of the Republicans I talk to, we literally don't agree on anything else but this. So it's important to hear those voices of what they're doing to make things happen for us. Those are the things I can think of. Maybe just organizations that are really entrenched in reentry and like the transition. Those would be good people to talk to too, just because they can help give you ideas for resources and things that people don't think of necessarily when they come home that you kind of have to deal with. Not only us, but our families as well. Like it's a hard transition. It's hard for us, but it's super hard for our families too. And I think people forget that. So family members would be really good to have on here too. I could tell you the mama bears that I have out here that their sons are in prison. Those women are involved in everything and they will do anything and everything in their power to help their kid. Like they're on the phone all the time with them, no matter if they can get a hold of anybody or not. Like they know those things and they are really great to talk to because they are super resourceful as well.
Well, maybe we can share some contact info later on here
Yeah,
and get some
absolutely.
other ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the Prison Pod. I want to remind our listeners we've been talking with Kara Janssen, and she's with We Stand AZ as in Arizona. Make sure to look her up and what she's doing. Is there anything else you want to say, Kara, before we leave?
Sure. So I'd love to just tell everybody that we are having a couple of events here in Arizona. We're going to do a reentry simulation here on December 3rd up at the Capitol. So it'll be a really cool experience. It'll be lawmakers that are doing the workshop, and basically we take them through like a month of reentry of all of the things that you have to do, your requirements on parole or probation. So they literally have to start it when they get out. They only have like $150 that they get out with maybe bus pass. They literally get what we get when we get out, and they get to go through the month and really just see how hard it is. And it opens a lot of people's eyes. We do this for corporations. We do it for other organizations working on diversity and equity and things like that. And then I'm also working with another organization called Badass Jobs. They're out of Washington, and we're helping connect justice impacted people with labor unions. A lot of people don't know about unions and how actually beneficial they are to especially justice impacted people because of the protections that they offer the workers. So we're having an event on December 13th to talk about those resources. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, there will be, my email is on this podcast, I think, or I can give it to you. It's kjconsultingcommunity@gmail.com. I encourage anybody to reach out to me that wants to tell their story or wants to get involved, wants to volunteer. I love to have new people. Just to everybody inside, keep your head up. You have a lot of people out here that are fighting for you, that have not forgotten about you, and that love you. So just don't forget that. We're out here, I promise.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us again on the Prison Pod.
You have been listening to the Prison Pod, a podcast not just for those in prison but for anyone who has been affected by incarceration. Ms. Valerie would love for you to write to her with your questions, comments, and show ideas. The address is Prison Pod, Post Office Box 294, Orono, Maine. 04473.